he's not willing to have the ball in his hands. But the players that got that clutch gene, they're going to go get that ball.
Right. And Jordan, that puts him over LeBron. But LeBron is better enough than everyone else you just mentioned that he's over them in spite of not having that clutch gene, right?
That's the only thing that I knock LeBron about is not having that clutch gene.
Right.
Scottie Pippen just threw a fresh spark back into the never-ending LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate. And this time, the message was blunt enough to make the whole basketball world stop and pay attention. The conversation was not even really supposed to be about Jordan at first. It started as a discussion about what LeBron is asked to do in his era, how much more responsibility he carries on the floor, and whether the burden of modern basketball makes his job harder than what Michael Jordan dealt with in his time. But once Scottie started answering, the tone changed fast. The whole debate shifted from LeBron has to do more to do not compare him to MJ like that. And suddenly, everybody had an opinion again. That is the thing about this rivalry. It never really dies. It just keeps coming back in different forms. And Scottie Pippen, whether people agree with him or not, is one of the few voices in basketball who can speak on this subject with real authority. He was there next to Michael Jordan. He saw what greatness looked like at the highest level, up close, inside the fire, with championships on the line and pressure that most players never come close to feeling. So when Scottie speaks about MJ, people listen. And when he says LeBron should not be compared to Jordan in the way people often do, that hits differently than when a random fan says it on social media. At the same time, Scottie was not just blindly taking shots for the sake of taking shots. His point was more layered than that. He was basically saying that LeBron has been asked to do more in his era in terms of all-around responsibility. He has to score, rebound, defend, run the offense, organize teammates, carry heavy minutes, and often do it without another superstar sitting beside him in the exact same way Jordan had help around him. That part of Scottie's argument is easy to understand. Modern basketball asks stars to be more versatile, more interchangeable, and more involved in every part of the game.
When's the last time you and Michael spoke?
Right around the pandemic.
Oh, so it's been a minute since you. Yeah. Is that the text exchange when he shot you a text May of 2020 and he said, "Hey, Scottie, I heard you're upset. Let me know when you have a minute to speak." Is that the last time you guys spoke?
Something like that.
Something like that. Did you actually call him? Like, did you guys talk or did you just text him?
No, I think we ended up speaking briefly.
Did it end up being good, the conversation?
Yeah, I guess.
So on that point, he was not wrong. But then came the real heat. Because once the conversation turned towards Jordan, Scottie made it clear that the comparison should not be treated as the same thing just because both players were dominant. In his eyes, Jordan had something different, something more instinctive, something that cannot just be measured by total points, total titles, or total usage rate. Scottie kept coming back to mentality, killer instinct, the willingness to take over, the willingness to finish people off, the ability to demand the last shot and not just accept it, but crave it. That is where, according to Scottie, Jordan separated himself from everyone else. And that is where LeBron gets challenged, because LeBron's greatness has never really been in question, not seriously, not by anyone paying attention. He has been one of the most complete players the league has ever seen. He can pass like a point guard, score like a wing, rebound like a forward, and control the flow of a game in a way almost nobody else can. That is not a fake argument, that is real. But the criticism Scottie was hinting at is the one that always follows LeBron into these Jordan debates. Does he have that same ruthless instinct when the game gets to the final, ugly, pressure-packed moments? That is the heart of it, and Scottie didn't exactly back off from that question. He basically said that Jordan came into the league with that mentality already built in. He didn't have to grow into it over time. He didn't need a decade to develop the edge. He arrived with the killer already living in him. That is what Scottie values so much. Not just the raw skill, but the inner wiring, the part of the game that cannot be taught, cannot be manufactured, and cannot be faked when the moment gets too big. That is also why he brought up players like Kobe Bryant, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and even Russell Westbrook in the discussion. Those players, in Scottie's view, carry some version of that same edge. Maybe not all of it in the exact same way, but enough to understand what he means when he talks about a gene for wanting to take over and put the game away. Scottie was basically saying that some players are born with it, some players develop it later, and some players never fully get there. And in his mind, Jordan had it from the start. LeBron, while still great, had to build it over time. That distinction matters a lot to people who value clutch performance above all else. And of course, that led to the familiar pushback. because every time somebody says LeBron does not have Jordan's clutch gene, another group of people jumps in to say, hold on, he has still hit huge shots, still carried teams, still won big games, still delivered under pressure, and still done more than almost anyone else ever has. That's fair too. It's not like LeBron has never taken over a game late. It's not like he has no memorable playoff moments. He absolutely does. There are too many legendary performances in his career to ignore. But Scottie's argument isn't about whether LeBron has clutch moments. It's about whether clutch instinct defines him in the same way it defined Jordan. That is a much narrower question, and when you frame it that way, the debate gets sharper. Another important part of the conversation is the defense angle. Scottie pointed out that LeBron is not always playing defense at the same intensity that people celebrate on offense. That was part of the criticism in the source too. LeBron gets praised constantly for the things he still does well, especially when he's scoring, dunking, blocking shots, or making highlight plays that show off his longevity. When he does something unbelievable at his age, everybody says he is defying time. They say he is the greatest 40-something athlete ever. They say he is still in his prime in some ways, or at least still producing at a level nobody should be able to reach this late in a career.
I don't even agree with nothing he ever did.
Oh, get him.
You know what? I find that comment there just hating. You know, I've never seen this guy embrace or thank Michael Jordan for what he's done for the game, done for our league, done for all the kids out here in terms of basketball.
But the moment someone asks him to dive for a loose ball, chase down every possession, or maintain the same defensive urgency on the other end, the tone changes. Suddenly, the excuse becomes age. Suddenly, he is too old to do that every play. Suddenly, the demands are unfair. That is the inconsistency Scottie was calling out. In other words, if LeBron is still eligible for all the praise when he looks amazing, then he should also be eligible for criticism when his effort slips on the other end. You cannot have it both ways. That was one of the strongest parts of Scottie's point, and honestly, he is right about that much. Greatness should come with accountability. If you want the credit for still doing amazing things in your 40s, then you also have to accept the criticism when your effort slips on the other end. That is how the conversation should work. What makes the comparison to Jordan even more intense is that Jordan's reputation is built not just on winning, but on the emotional way he won. Jordan had that aura, the "I'm going to bury you" aura, the "give me the ball, I will end this game, and you will know I did it" aura. That kind of mentality gets remembered forever because it's impossible to fake in the biggest moments. That is the thing Scottie keeps pointing toward. He's saying Jordan didn't just play basketball, he attacked the game with a certain mentality that made him feel inevitable. And that feeling matters. LeBron, on the other hand, has always been more of a full-spectrum force. He controls the game by distributing, reading, managing, and overwhelming teams with versatility. He may not always come across as the pure, cold-blooded assassin that Jordan was in those final moments, but he can still dominate a game in his own way. That difference is exactly why people keep comparing them and why people keep arguing. They are both legends, but their styles of domination are not identical. One is not a copy of the other. They represent different types of greatness. Scottie seems to be saying that if you truly understand that difference, then you should stop forcing the comparison in a simplistic way. LeBron is more of a hybrid, a wing who can do almost everything, a player who blends scoring, playmaking, and point-forward control in a way that Jordan never needed to do, because Jordan played a different role in a different basketball environment. Jordan was a shooting guard with a scorer's soul and a killer's mentality. LeBron has often been more like a forward who can function like a point guard, orchestrating the game while still carrying massive scoring responsibility. That doesn't make one lesser in a vacuum, but it does make the comparison more complicated. And that complexity is what people often ignore. The source makes it clear that Scottie was trying to defend the idea that LeBron is being asked to do more in the modern game, and that is true in a broad sense. Today's stars are expected to handle a lot more of the offense. They are expected to be the focal point, the initiator, the closer, the face of the franchise, and the person who can carry the whole group when the roster around them is not perfect. Jordan played in a different era with different spacing, different expectations, and a different style of team construction. That doesn't matter. Nobody serious should pretend the eras are identical. But the real reason the Jordan comparison keeps coming back is that fans do not just compare numbers, they compare feelings, they compare impact, they compare emotional weight, they compare what it looked like when the biggest moments happened. Jordan supporters point to the perfect 6-0 finals record and the mythic aura around his championships. LeBron supporters point to longevity, versatility, carrying weaker teams, and dominating in a way no one else has at this age. Both sides have arguments, both sides have ammunition, and both sides will keep arguing forever. That is why Scottie's comments matter so much. He's not just adding another random opinion to the pile, he's adding the weight of somebody who lived through the Jordan era and knows what made it so special. When he says LeBron should not be compared to MJ in the exact same way, it's because he sees a real difference in the mentality. Scottie doesn't deny LeBron's greatness, he just draws a hard line when people start trying to put him in the Jordan box as if the comparison is simple. That's actually a pretty reasonable position when you think about it. It's also interesting that the conversation kept circling back to how much LeBron is asked to do, because that in itself is part of the legacy debate. If a player has to score, defend, rebound, run the offense, and still make everyone around him better, that is an exhausting job. Most great players are not asked to do all of that at once for this long. LeBron has carried that burden for years. That absolutely deserves respect. But as Scottie pointed out, if you are carrying that burden and still want to be talked about in the same way as Jordan, then the standard has to include everything, not just the good parts.
Michael Jordan is the greatest player to ever put on shoes and play in our game. No doubt about it. I'm always asked about questions to compare him to LeBron. I try to make the best of it.
You try to make the best of it.
I've tried to make the best of it, but really, the comparison shouldn't ever be made.
That means defense. That means body language. That means the moments when the game gets ugly and the player has to show whether the edge is still there. That means loose balls, rebounding effort, and the willingness to grind when the easy stuff is gone. Scottie seems to believe Jordan would have attacked those moments with a different kind of fire, and that is why he thinks the comparison should stop being treated as automatic. The deeper this conversation goes, the more it becomes obvious that people are really arguing about values. Some fans value dominance, some value perfection, some value versatility, some value killer instinct, some value longevity, some value the story of a player carrying his team through impossible situations. That is why LeBron and Jordan debates never end. People are not just talking about basketball, they are talking about what they want greatness to mean. Scottie Pippen's answer is pretty clear. He values mentality first. He values the killer. He values the player who wants the final shot and wants to bury you with it. That is why Jordan sits above the rest in his mind. LeBron may be a more complete modern player in some categories. He may be asked to do more across the floor. He may have had to stretch his game in ways Jordan never needed to. But for Scottie, that still does not make him Jordan. And that is the shot he is taking. Not a disrespectful shot necessarily, more like a line in the sand. A reminder that the GOAT conversation is not just about stats, rings, or longevity. It is also about mentality, temperament, and the ability to rise to the absolute biggest stage with a level of ruthlessness that cannot be taught. In Scottie's eyes, MJ had that from day one. LeBron had to build it. That difference, no matter how small it sounds to some people, is enough to keep them in different categories. That is why this clip got people talking again, because it is not just another old head versus new school argument. It's a Hall of Famer with first-hand knowledge saying, in effect, that the comparison is being forced too hard, and that Jordan's mentality still stands apart. Whether you agree or not, you cannot really dismiss that kind of perspective. It's coming from someone who lived it. So now the debate is right back where it always ends up. LeBron fans will say his versatility, production, and longevity make him one of the greatest ever, maybe even the greatest ever. Jordan fans will say the killer instinct, the perfect finals record, and the way he owned the biggest moments separate him forever. And Scottie Pippen, standing right in the middle of it all, is basically saying, do not pretend those are the same thing. That is the real message. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more NBA debates, legendary player discussions, and deep dive basketball stories just like this. And drop your thoughts in the comments, because the LeBron versus Jordan conversation is never going away.